Yesterday's conspiracy theories, tomorrow's headlines. Most are still asleep and I ain't talking about no bedtime. The truth is not a Google search, you need to get your head right. The Greek goddess of illusion was called Media, and I'm not a coincidence theorist, I look for thread lines. Smashing every deadline, no longer smashing red wine. Though I can hear the bells chime, it feels like the end times. That probably should have been smashed on red wine, but the carnal mind is foolish. Obey and end up ghoulish. Don't get used by instinct, take control and learn to use it. Make a load of earnest music, earn a few quid, learn a few tricks. Sure, the truth is persecuted, this whole world is pure abusive. Know a bit about everything and everything about nothing. Figured out my noggin while you picture out shopping. You sit about watching while I dish it out, stop it. I don't mean to sound cocky, I'm not even proud of it. It's a second itch to me just to be this out honest. I don't even need to sound honest, never been about profit. Everything but out on it, you can bet your house on it. Doubt I'll be out for the count when the sounds, and I'm down for the beat, no beat down. I mean, how long's it been? Help me out. I've been the only one who's held me down. All in the mind, hell freeze now. Still sick with it, healthy how? Few bars down and the world freaked out. I don't reach out, I seek out to speak out. I'ma recount the reasons they beat out.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in this beautiful world. I'm your host, Joseph Daniel Pena. This is the 509 Divine Pines podcast over here in the United States of America, but we're kicking it off and inviting our brothers from across the border in Canada. My man, Graham in Grimerica. You know what we do. We kick it, we keep it cool, and man, today we're just going to go ahead and brush through some things between us, get our viewers involved and get us connected, share our stories, talk about our land, talk about culture, talk about it all. You guys will hear it. Hey, all right. Hey, so how's it going, Graham?
Good, man. Thanks. Good. Thanks for having me on, man. This will be fun.
Hey, so would you like to share with my viewers a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Graham from Grimerica. That's the podcast, Grimerica and Grimerica Outlawed. And we do podcasting up here in Canada, read audiobooks as well. We do some trips and tours down in the States mainly. So yeah, this is me, man. Just living my best, trying to.
Yeah, you guys were at Contact in the Cabin. Did you head it out there?
Yeah. We're with Randall Carlson and Bradley Young, looking at the landscape of your state, Washington.
Yeah, right there at the Missoula floods, up near Moses Lake and all that beautiful glory. Yeah. So, what do you guys do out there? I mean, you guys just how long you guys out there? Can you tell?
Well, we're
can you talk about it a little bit?
So, dude. This is like, so I don't know if people know Randall Carlson. He talks about
everybody should know Randall Carlson.
Like with Graham Hancock, they've got a Netflix series coming out on the 11th, I think.
Yes, they do.
And they're heading back to JRE coming up at the end of this week, but on the 7th, I guess. So anyways, he takes us through like the landscape of the scab lands in Washington, your state, that was destroyed by, what you could call the Great Flood, maybe it was the Great Flood, but it was definitely, like, he thinks, two massive pulses of water that destroyed. So it's very similar to the mainstream theory, but it's kind of not, because they think that it happened from Missoula, Lake Missoula. Many different floods came over from Missoula, little bit, but he thinks it wasn't from there. That was only part of it, but the main thing came down from where we are in Canada. The Okanagan came down, pretty much all at once and destroyed that place. So we drive around in vans, and Randall's talking on the radio, and the van's got the radio going, and we just tour around all these massive landscapes. Like, dude, if you ever seen like the Dry Falls and the Potholes Cataract and all that, we're the only people out there, and it's amazing terrain and scenery. And he describes like how the waters came through and destroyed this place, basically.
Yeah, literally going on a tour with Randall Carlson. That dude is a man with like a million ideas in his head, and being able to express our land, this divine state, as I call it, 509 Divine Pines. You actually run through the 509, and it's mighty divine. You can tell with the land, with the culture, the history. You got Bigfoot, you got ETs, and and with the land itself, there's a lot of crystals. There's just a lot of mountains, beautiful mountains. We got like 10 mountains in our state that are about like 8,000 or 9,000 feet, and so or more. So it's like pretty crazy out here. It's a really beautiful place, and I love Randall Carlson. I love Graham Hancock. What they're doing, they're shining some real light and helping people understand that the things around us aren't necessarily what we were told, and we can go ahead and go into Graham Hancock a bit more, in his consciousness. Like that's just a whole nother story in its own. How it relates to us and our stories over here. And I kind of think that's why George Washington and Bill Gates are over here. There's some high consciousness over here, and high energy. Both they kind of link together. Whenever you got spots with high energy, you got spots with high consciousness. And Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock are over here. It's two of the brightest researchers and book writers and historians in our time right now. You can really go ahead and get some real knowledge from them, and this state too. It's taught me a lot, and I guess I could go ahead and talk a little bit about my state if you want to go ahead and share this.
Let me mention about your state something quickly, because I grew up thinking that North America was new, right? Like the whole sort of, compared to Europe and the Middle East and all that, Asia, North America was sort of fresh. But really that big sheet of ice that was there, like we were under a mile or two of ice in Canada. And that lobe of that ice, it was stopped in your state, right? It was probably northwest of you. So where you are, like was not under the glaciers. It was obviously affected by the flood, but that sort of is it's a new kind of realization to me that, wow, that whole southern part of America from the lobe, which is northwest of you, down, has been without cover of ice for thousands and thousands of years, because it was only 12,800 years ago where that melt happened, right?
Yeah, that's when I believe. I'll go ahead and be honest, dude. I've had some dreams and meditations about my land that are freaking crazy. It almost seems like they go back in time. Literally, at my house, there's constant dreams about how I live on a vortex. But I had this interesting dream, and look, my name's Joseph Daniel. So whatever God freaking chose about me to go ahead and hand me dreams must be through my name, or I don't know. My birthday's 5/28 May. That's a freaking whole nother frequency and a whole nother topic itself. So this dream, dude, it was like I seen Washington State from probably a mile up, but it was like old time, like 1,000 years. And it was just rolling hills and rolling mountains, literally some of the craziest agriculture. And I was like, I was looking at it, I knew exactly where I was. And, this state right here goes back very, very far, like and the remnants of this go back a long time. What we got here now between the rivers and how all of our rivers are like, remnants of, the last ice age, last flood, or whatever it is. I mean, hearing about two pulses though, that's something new. I mean, I would love to have Graham Hancock or Randall Carlson on this, but you might know just a little bit too. Could you?
Well, I think one happened longer ago, like 14 or 15,000 years ago, the original sort of first melt, and then it kind of went back into a bit of a freeze. And then the second pulse was, I don't know if it was bigger. I think it was bigger, but they think it was accelerated by something else. There's theories about the sun, solar flares, that kind of like coronal mass ejections. There's theories about bombardment from cometary impact. So something coalesced to accelerate the second melt that really just ripped through the whole of Washington, like hundreds of millions of cubic feet per second, like massive.
It'd be like half the state. And I look at a lot of different speculations about how scientists are understanding that throughout time we've had these different radiation blasts from the outside, outside planetary forces, which we might speculate like would be like Fallen Angel. I know Billy Carson has this thing about the Black Knight satellite, which is what Oumuamua, right? And how it could be related to Enki or Enlil, or how it could be related to some of these, and angelic or higher dimensional creator forces, and how they've been, just sitting outside of our planet doing things like rain and warfare. I mean, the ancient Vedic texts easily talk about it, and they show it, and it's like, if we kind of put it together, and probably it says it right there.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what else about your what else about your state then? Why did you name it 509 Divine Pines?
Right. So I'm located right here in a place called Grandview, Washington, and literally within 100 miles of me in all these different directions, pretty much. I got Project Manhattan's original site, so 1 out of 3, which is at Hanford, Washington. And from Hanford, Washington, there's a whole bunch of crazy stuff I actually covered on one of my first videos, Operation Green Run. You see, the government was taking uranium and plutonium and all these different chemical samples, and they were dropping them above Tri-Cities, Washington, in planes, and they were doing all sorts of tests. They were like, yeah, we just want to see what happens on the land, or we just want to see what happens in the sky, or yada yada. They, the government's bullshit. So that's one of these areas. Actually, it's referenced in a Call of Duty game, one of, I think, Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3, on the zombie map, Transit. They have the Hanford right there, and they talk about it, and they talk about denizens. So these zombies being created right there, and that's just on the other side of the mountains from where Billy Gates is, running all his patent 006s and crap, and trying to control humans' souls and brains. So there's a huge link with that. Now, going a little bit further in towards the mountains, we got the Patterson Gimlin origination of those two men were right there at the top of the Yakima Valley, and where I come from. I live in the Yakima Valley, and it's a beautiful place. It's divine as fuck. I'll go ahead and say that proudly, man. So look, it's crazy. We have these two dudes who had the most powerful Bigfoot video to date, and I'm just looking at this updated 4K stabilized version, and it looks like Bigfoot is a woman with titties. And I'll be honest, that's pretty new to me, to go ahead and realize like these two dudes had a very powerful video. Like, it still holds true to this date, like on how impactful it has been to the community. And in the same little area, we actually had CIA Five Eyes run one of its original operations at the Yakima, I think, Joint Air Force Base or something like that. Yakima Air Force Base. Back in the 40s, you see, they went ahead and got Britain, Australia, Canada, I think UK. I don't know. Who cares what the fifth one is? But it was ridiculous, man. It was right here in my own freaking valley, right? So you got the CIA running all their operations. When I look at things like Starsky and Hutch and all these Hollywood movies about them agents, I'm like, it probably happened all right here. This is where it all came from. Men in Black. It probably came from all right here.
Where you live again? Did you say Grants Pass?
No, I live in Grandview, Washington, and
Grandview.
yeah, in the Yakima Valley. And man, this is
And where's that? Is that, you said that was is that east, north, southeast?
Yeah, this is the southeast of Washington. Yeah. So I mean, even in the same Yakima Valley area, there's the Eisenhower family remnants, and we know about the Eisenhower family and supposed treaty, Greta treaty with the aliens. And
Yeah.
like, that's just a fascinating subject, because I mean, when you look at Bill Gates and what's happening, it seems very alienish. Amazon right here, Nintendo right here, Xbox right here, Boeing right here, some very high, like, worldwide, powerfully technologically advanced companies. Like these, Nintendo and Microsoft are at the top of the world, like, legit. Xbox is getting up there probably. Boeing is definitely up there. It's pretty interesting. It's literally like changed everything that I thought about the world. I mean, I used to think the world was kind of like outdated, and then I started looking into my own state, and I was like, oh, this is literally some of the most updated times that we're currently living in. Like what the secret societies are doing with technology is like literally matching up to like, I would say, the creators god levels. It's unbelievable. And it's running through the state, right? We got these underground tunnels that are um speculated to be here through the mountains right here, Mount Rainier, Mount Adam. The Indian legends, they talk about like sky 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 people. And Dr. J. Allen Hynek here in the Yakima Valley in the 1970s did a huge study. And I actually have one of the books written by Greg Long called The Yakima UFO Phenomenon. And another person had done a phenomenal paper, David W. Akers, around the same time in the 1970s, had written Nocturnal Phenomenon, I believe, about the Yakima Valley too. And that was another fascinating ride through information that's very advanced. Like they have pictures, then they have detailed stories over through different families, through different people. Like, okay, they're not just like bluffing and trying to just bullshit it, right? Then let's see, about another 90 miles away, so 90 minutes away or so, I have in the early 1900s one of the American Stonehenges that was found. They like to say that a World War One memorial maker had built it, and he just happened to build it exactly in the same shape as Stonehenge, or like one of the Stonehenges, right? All the Stonehenges have like different shapes, but they're like, or yeah. So he had built it in a shape of a Stonehenge, and he just happened to put all these huge bricks. And it's not realistic that he did it. I really don't believe it. I think that if we look at a lot of the world, these things were already here, and in my state, it's here. I mean, I've been to it like earlier this year, and ever since that point, like I felt like a little bit less pressure. I think it kind of balanced my like energy, I would say, because I definitely hit it in a meditative way. Uh, you know I I I I I do feel the resonance. It's right on the hills. This whole state is magical, man. That's why I named myself 509 Divine Pines. I really wanted to go ahead and represent this area pretty well with some of the information and some of the topics. I mean, I know the Indian legends, they go off and they're way deeper, and they got stories themselves. And from what I've uncovered so far, it's only been a fascinating journey. And I'm definitely also interested in like the cannabis aspect, the cannabis and wine and the fruits. I really think that there's some like ancient like origins to it. Like if we look at the Greeks and how they really relished fruits and like wines, and I'm sure the Hebrews too, and they fancied cannabis. This area is mighty divine. I mean, the pines in my name also references the pine tree, which is something fascinating itself, where if we look at some of the tales of South America and some other tales around the world, they would reference the pine cone with like immortality or vitality, extended life, sometimes like consciousness, like this divine essence, this tool from the gods, or it's just all interrelated with with
The
pineal gland.
pineal
The
gland.
pineal
Yeah.
gland, yeah, it's all interrelated with the pineal gland, but it's still referenced in the same shape, which is where I had mentioned the 528 hertz in my birthday, also being a resonant, in the same fashion. 528 being the resonance of the pine cone and the pineal gland, and I believe DNA and human DNA or DNA. That it literally, yeah. There's this, they have it in so many things. I found it fascinating, that our area was filled with all of these magical entities, and also vegetation. You see when you hear about stories from around the world about fairies and Bigfoot and other paranormal entities, they love the places that include berries. So like they'll go around berry fields, and paranormal phenomenon will be highly uh highly susceptible, or I mean it'll appear a lot around berries. And yeah, that's one of the reasons that like that's many reasons why I named myself 509 Divine Pines. There's just a whole collective, and I felt like maybe I was a perfect candidate to go ahead and like really start resonating and representing the truth with this area. Hey, I just love this area. I love my state, man. I'm one of those dudes who's like
That's
really
good.
loves
Yeah.
my state.
That's good. Your state's way hotter. It has way more of like a desert hotness that I didn't realize until I started doing these tours with Randall. Like September, May, beautiful months, lots of sun, beautiful weather. I always think of Washington as rainy because I grew up in Vancouver, north of Seattle. So it's I always have a picture that the whole state is gray and rainy, but it's not. But did your Stonehenge down there, does it have celestial alignment at all, like solar or lunar or anything like that?
So when I had done a little bit of research, the only thing that I really found was that there were some tests about how it was on vortex energy, how they ran some electromagnetic tests, or they lined it up with some maps or something. Like the researchers had found proof that it was on a vortex, and that's why it was specifically chosen there. And I would believe that yeah, there's some alignments to it, because when I looked at it, yeah, it was running east to west. It was definitely east to west. How if I knew I was there at like 6 a.m. or 4 a.m. or one of these, at solstice or something, equinox, I could definitely see some things. I'm for sure. I believe it.
I was driving down your one of your roads coming back from the airport. Number 2, I think they call it Sunset Highway, I believe. I found out afterwards, but it just happened to be like a couple days after the actual equinox, and the sun was setting directly where the road was going for a long while, like a half hour, an hour, just setting right where the road was pointing. So that big road going east-west in north of you, from Spokane to Moses Lake, follows that exact pointer of west at the equinox.
Yeah, I definitely see some
You know,
geometry in this state.
yeah,
It's everywhere. Seattle, even my town, there's like it points to the mountains, but it also a perfect view with the sun, like the highway. Yeah, there's that. That's why George Washington was here. He sent all the master Freemasons. That's why Lewis and Clark came out here. I actually found out that the oh man, what's it called? The British Odd Fellows Secret Society. You have you
yeah,
heard?
yeah, yeah.
They were created here in Washington State.
Wow.
Yeah, it's freaking weird. In like early 1800s, middle 1800s.
Yeah.
I'm wondering why, but then I already know why. The secret societies were heavily into the ancient technology and the true remnants of the Americas. How now, if we look down at like Central America, they're seeing like 5 times the amassment of pyramids and ancient technology, and even down in like South America, you know, it's all in Americas. The Americas were powerful. That's why they
We
rule.
have we had a guy on way back like many years ago. He was a fellow Canadian, and you asked about if I had anything local in this area, and we do have some things. Like we have some writing on some rocks and some stuff that I haven't visited, but we also have what they call, or what this guy calls, Canada's Stonehenge as well. And the reason I asked you about the alignments is because there's a what is really just like a cairn and medicine wheel up in the middle of the plains up here. There's like some rolling hills, and you're in the plains. Like once you get up there, there's a 360-degree view of everywhere, and it's kind of like one of the higher hills. And there's an old medicine wheel on there, and he says it's a 5,000-year-old sun temple and an ancient time machine. He says it's a Stone Age calendar, and he found striking similarities between the surface geometry of this and Stonehenge. So yeah, pretty interesting because it just
I
looks like a medicine wheel now, but he says it's got all this celestial, archaeoastronomy.
Yeah, I do believe the Druids were onto something when they were making these things, and they understood the astronomical importance of including the electrical and geomagnetical and stuff. Yeah, it's very fascinating. Uh, yeah. So, what else about Canada? Can you share some things about Canada to my viewers? I mean, most
Well,
of my viewers are in
we
America.
go hunting on a military base that's called the Canada's Area 51, and I don't know why. Honestly, it just seems like it's called Suffield, so it's named after an English town. Apparently, like so. This is all total speculation. I haven't done my research on
Hey,
this,
I
but
love some conspiracy on this.
I keep hearing people talk about it, like, oh, that base, But what we do is there's too many elk on that base. So Darren, my podcast partner, he's an Indian, and he goes hunting. He's got full access to hunt. But we go there on this base because they register all these hunters. You go out for the day, like, or for a weekend, and you're supposed to kill elk, and then they track all the elk, and you show them what you kill. So we go onto this military base, which is just like, I don't know, hundreds of acres of just rolling hills, prairie hills, and I guess who knows what's underneath those hills, but we go there to hunt. So there's not much, I don't have much to say besides that. I mean, Darren and I kind of have a joke that, when people worry about the military, you're like, they could barely organize a hunt, these guys, and you're going to worry about them taking over the country kind of thing, kind of have an inside joke about how disorganized they are. But
Well, I mean, I actually look at things like Resident Evil when they show these underground city complexes, and some of the other movies that show underground city complexes. They're actually showing a little bit of the truth through disclosure.
yeah,
I actually understand that the film directors' families are pretty much linked to, like, occult societies, linked to historians and politicians. So, when we look at film directors, they're literally just pulling information from their friends who have the real information. They're like trying to make it fancy and create a buck off it.
and I think there's a disinformation aspect to it, because I mean, we grew up with all these movies and all this stuff, and we just thought it was all fiction, right? I mean, you just automatically start thinking, well, if it's on the big screen, it's fiction, or it's Hollywoodized, or if it's in a game, it's just a game. Like, I think that's why they put that in there, because it really does discredit the real mystery. I mean, not for us, but for the majority of people. If you see something in a game, it's just a game. If you see it on the movies, it's just a movie.
Well, I think just about 100 years ago, the information started getting really scattered, because I do recall there's about, like, in the early 1900s, there's a few articles. One of them is on my intro about the Hawaiian Gazette with the ancient Buddhist map showing these lands. But then also around the same time, the LA did this reptilian, heavy reptilian underground LA reptilian push for the city, and they actually showed maps of it. And if we look at places like what is it, Grand Canyon, there's these underground complexes. I do think that some of this stuff is real. It's been real, but at some point, right when maybe the bankers heavily came into America,
Oh my God.
in the early 1900s, maybe 1910s ish, around then. After that, it started getting really polluted. I know then eventually there was a heavy push for common core knowledge, which wiped out some of the actual historical and conscious paranormal, mystical, ancient aspects to our world, and try to refine it to a boxed viewpoint, so that they could go ahead and control the energy and from the inside of a human, right? So they're this let's just say this global dominant force, how everybody likes to talk about, wants to control humanity. They're going to do it from the inside, which is your knowledge, and then your anatomy, which is where I come in. I was in the military with chemical biology, radiology, nuclear studies, and I understood how these let's just say energies, these GMOs that's inside of us, like these foods, these aerosols, all this crap is like damaging our DNA from the inside, right? Dehumanizing us. So the knowledge, one thing. GMO is another thing. Yeah, about 100 years ago, it started getting really bad, sir.
Dude, you're hitting the nail on the head. Have you heard me talk about this at all? Because it's right along where I've been going the last maybe 6 months, 6 months or a year. It's the early 1900s and late 1800s. It was unraveling, I think, in a lot of ways, and they just put a clamp on it. They just clamped down. There was a rise in spirituality, spiritualism, a rise in theosophy. There was a push against the dogma of the church, against materialism. They were like, fuck this materialism. Like, they knew it wasn't working back then. There was a huge interest in this spirit, like, let's just say extended consciousness or spiritual things, the
Right. I
ether,
mean, the East, yeah. I
all
mean,
that.
China and India still run on those energies a little bit.
Totally. So, but I'm talking like the West, and
Yeah.
I think you're right. Something happened around that exact time, and it culminated in World War One, which really just was able to reset everything, right? So, I think what you're saying is correct, and what did the physical change and the maybe which led into the knowledge and all that was World War One. But then they started, making fun of the spirituality, and they brought in sort of more hardcore kind of globalism and materialism for sure. And we've been clawing our way back, I think, and we're now sort of winning again in some ways, in a spiritual way. But man, 1850s to early 1900s was a really interesting time where they had to figure out how are they going to clamp down on this rise of population that believe in freedom and something else, something beyond themselves.
Right. And to talk about a little bit of World War One and what might have happened. See, I listen to OBDM, and Midnight Mike loves that Star Trek, right? And he makes a lot of correlations on how it's actually truthful, to what might be going on in space. And so also, if we look at Hollywood and their disclosure, I'm looking at Stargate. See, now the original Stargate, it talks about these pyramids, right? But then if we look in further, there's a movie about Stargate, like Catherine, about the 1910s, 1920s, something like that. They started finding Stargates, and they started shipping them over here, and these countries started battling for this ancient technology. And I think that's what it started happening, because we heard about how over here 70 years later in was it Desert Stormish, and the Iraq war and all that, they were looking for Stargate technology. Actually, it wasn't no weapons of mass destruction, it was more Stargate technology. I believe that within the last 100 years that this is actually what's been happening, because we look at the Theosophical societies of Helena Blavatsky and what Hitler was following with all them. They were actually heavily interested in these topics. It's trying to find these remnants, the biblical artifacts. But beyond that, we have to include the Stargate portion of it, right? Because it's obviously there. We look down in South America, and all the cultures and little images they show Stargates. They talk about Stargates. They say that the gods came through the Stargates. And so when we look at the movie Stargate, and the little bit of disclosure in there, because actually in the credits they do say, hey, this was kind of partly made with the Navy and Air Force and stuff and military. And so I think that's what started happening, because we do see how, like, there was some technology, right? There was some cool technology, but then it must have got to a point where the elites hit the highest, and then everything started going to war, and then boom, it started dissipating, and things got bad. And
Yeah,
now we're at where we're at.
yeah, it's interesting about the Stargates, because now we're hearing more open acceptance of portals and interdimensional travel from the governments studying them, and other people doing experiments around what's that property there, the Skinwalker Ranch, and there's also a bunch more UFO sightings. I don't know if you've seen an increase in these kind of orbs that are flittering in and out of existence, flashing on and off. A couple of my friends, one of my friends in Vancouver saw it, took some video of it. And when I freeze framed it, in some frames, there's two of them or three of them in the same frame. But I think there was only really one craft. So are they moving so fast? They're skittering in and out that one frame can only capture it it has to capture it in three different places. Very interesting. But this is the same stuff that the pilots are seeing, the U.S. Navy pilots are seeing, and I'm seeing like these black cubes spinning around in these orbs. Like there seems to be a huge increase in this type of sighting, which they're saying is similar technology to natural spiritual technology.
Right, and that to say it's a natural spiritual technology. There is some ancient scripts that talk about these like living engines and like living spacecrafts, like there's like these entities that are robotic, like highly technological, like living creatures, and
Well,
we
like golems in a way, right? I mean, golems are constructs. Is that what you mean? Like
in a
intentionally,
sense.
like intentionally made to animate, or just different species altogether.
Well, like so now, right now, scientists can create the ISS to be fully automatic if they wanted to, right? If they wanted to put an AI on there and say, "Hey, run on your own. We don't even need any humans in there." It would run on its own. They have enough 3D printers. They have enough robotic arms, and uh we're not the first civilization to be there, to think like this, right? So I do think that some of these crafts, yeah, maybe they might be like fully autonomous, AI sentient um crafts. I mean,
Like in the Star
I'm an
Wars, like
experiencer myself, and I have seen couple crafts. Only once where I felt an entity inside of it. The other times, I don't know. I mean, I really don't know, because I mean, there's so many different types of crafts. I mean, the one with the entity was definitely a small craft where I know there was like it was a single man. The others are just large crafts. I mean, I don't, who even knows it at some point, right? I guess the
yeah.
government would actually be trying to help us out in favor, being to actually say that, instead of just saying, oh, that they could be entities. They're also saying, well, they could be, these fully autonomous. They're like,
Yeah, they're kind of being careful what they say. Really, they're kind of just not saying anything. I think. I mean,
well, some of them, some
except that
people
they need
are
more
and some
fucking
isn't.
money for research. I mean,
Well, no, I mean, there's the scientific field that's not ran by the politics, that's saying
well,
all this stuff, and
yeah.
then there's the politics scientific field, which, yeah, is definitely gonna hold their voice. But I mean, we do know the CIA has done a lot of research into these things. The military has done a lot of research into these things. So it's beyond the politicians. We have the substantial data to go ahead and say, yeah, this, all of these things are beyond real. I mean, we definitely find the remnants throughout ancient history. I actually just seen this TikTok about an archaeologist in the early 1900s or 1800s, about how he was traveling through the countries and he was finding city remnants of alien origins, and they showed all the pictures, right? And yeah, you can see these structures, these houses that look very alienish. They don't look like normal, typical human houses. And when I think about the mud flood and these book burnings, yeah, there's a reason that these things are happening. Like all of the truth and like very powerful proof about our ancestors are being wiped from us constantly, over and over. And
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, that mud flood is a whole other thing, because that deals right back to Randall Carlson and this area.
Yeah, I don't know about the mud flood too much.
Well,
You're the it makes me think of when you're talking about your experiences and the UFOs being sentient or at least alive. It reminds me of, I was listening to these audiobooks on Star Wars audiobooks, and there's the Ujong Vong. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but they were like living craft. They were like beings that could fly through space. I guess with people in them as well. Yeah, super interesting.
I actually haven't. I know Star Wars is pretty deep. George Lucas had some connections, and
Yeah, these are back like I was listening to maybe 10, 15 years ago. So I don't know if it like it wouldn't be the new stuff. This was kind of like maybe the book series, like the novel series or something that went
the
into like,
original stuff.
yeah. I don't know if it was original, but yeah, I don't know how official it is now, the canon, but I had a sighting in Israel in 1990 when I was traveling around Europe and the Middle East, and I saw a dodecahedron shaped craft, almost like a 20-sided die, maybe like an icosahedron or a
Okay.
dodecahedron, and it was just like metallic, no colors or lights, but it was shining in the moonlight, and it was spinning in half. It was split in half, and the halves were spinning against itself, and the whole thing was rotating slowly on its axis. And I came up to this rooftop hostel in Tel Aviv, and my friends were all pointing up at this guy that I was traveling with, and they're like, "Look at this UFO!" They're yelling and screaming, looking up, and I run over to them. I'm like, "What did I miss?" And they said, "Oh, it's this UFO did this right angle turn," and I was so pissed off that I missed it. I looked up and I said, "Please come back, please come back. I want to see you too. I want to see you too." And then I spotted it in the sky, actually it was about this 20-sided dice at arm's length big, and it just went silently moving through the sky in 1990. So who knows? I don't think it was ET necessarily. I don't know, what it was. Maybe it was some kind of new propulsion system or something like that, or some
Well,
sort
I'm
of black project thing, or who knows?
well. I was having a conversation with the Big Dumb Podcast, Kyle, and we were talking about how there's these different factions, how this has been speculated over history, and actually in modern day, you know, like in history, there's Palladians and Syrians that appear throughout history, right? And then in the modern day, we have things like the Galactic Federation that is supposedly this alien force up there. The Vatican supposedly talks about it, right? They had this communication with it a couple years ago. Rick and Morty talks about the Galactic Federation. Star Trek mentions it. If they're kind of disclosing a little bit of it, I think that might be a little bit of a truth to it. As far as Solar Warden, I don't know too much. I know that maybe that's more military-ish. I don't know.
Here's my question that I've been coming up with now, that maybe I can see what you think. It's kind of my pet theory right now, is that after reading all these books on theosophy and spiritualism and the occult, we know there's brotherhoods of adept masters, right? Let's say white. Just say white for now. That they want to help humanity. They want to raise our consciousness. They want us to help each other. But there's also black, right? Black magic, people that use this knowledge and power for not good, for their own purposes, right?
I was just reading the Emerald Tablets, and in there it talks about the brothers of light versus the brothers of darkness.
Yeah. So how do we know what the brothers of darkness are doing to us? Because if the brothers of light can make stuff appear to their disciples, they can communicate in and out of this invisible realm, they can appear to them physically, they can biolocate, they can do all these things because they've trained themselves to go through this lifelong journey of learning and discipleship to become adept. Why how do we know what the black ones are doing? Like what if they're the ETs? I mean, how do we even know what's interdimensional or ET? It could be just a human in a fucking cave projecting himself somewhere.
Well,
right?
no, that's where I come back full circle to the beginning of how I talked about how I think we're the aliens. I think we're the off-worlders. Jesus was clearly spoken of as an off-worlder. In the Sumerian text, it talks about our creators coming from out of this planet or out of the world, whatever, off this planet, right? And the book of Isaiah talks about like God coming from the edge of the world, the edge, which means that they're from the other side, right? So I actually think that we are the off-worlders, and that these brothers of darkness and brothers of light
Have been here
are
all along.
no, that are off-worlders too.
Oh, okay, okay.
So like we're all off-worlders. So like I believe that this is the
Because we
second
just don't
Earth,
fit it.
right?
Because we don't really fit in like
To
normal.
to some of the ancient scripts, this is the second Earth. Am I correct? Yeah, this is what they would know as the second time that Earth has been created, or and that humans, us, were put here to live.
Well, I mean, I think theosophy says we're on the fourth,
Oh yeah, another one. Yeah,
the fourth,
that's
not necessarily the Earth, but the evolution of man. You know, we're on the fourth stage, right? Then we go into the fifth, and then we sixth, we go all the way up, and then
right. So
again we
so
go around
the
again.
fourth. Yes, this is the fourth evolution, but I have heard that this is actually the second Earth.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
there was a actually greater Earth created before, which might be where the impact of the moon comes from, and Mars, and how they say that some of these planets hit each other, and one of them broke, and then that's where also we see the, what is it, the asteroid belt around us. I've heard that that's that planet. um yeah, I actually, I fully do believe that we are here, from the other realms from thousands and thousands of years ago, and we're just trying to heal this place, because we probably seen a whole bunch of you know like what is it, like, I don't know, maybe barrenness. We wanted to recreate it, like it wasn't fulfilled a life as it could have been, right? um and then we were just planted here. I don't think that we were the slaves, I don't think we were the slaves ever. I really don't. I think that's kind of a lie. Like, I know that slavery did existed, but I don't think, like, to say that we were the slave of the gods at all times. Not all of us were. I really don't think that, though.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure where I think on that, because I think about what's happening right now today, and I'm like, why are they allowing all this to happen? You know, why are they, whoever it is, like ETs, the divine? I mean, they're just allowing, sort of. To me, it seems like they're just allowing this to happen. What's happening today? I feel
I
like
mean,
we're slaves in some ways because of that.
right. And when I listen to some people, other people speak around this community, they talk about how, in a Gnostic sense, that maybe, these angels and demons had agreements, and they made contracts with each other to try to,
I don't
you
know.
know I mean,
I know when people say,
Gnosticism, the Gnosticism goes pretty deep, and it actually shows some, pretty good, powerful stuff, right?
oh yeah,
Do,
yeah,
do you
for
delve into
sure.
Gnosticism a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's always there, and I like a lot of it, but it's just similar to me that people are saying, well, our souls made a deal, like we chose this to come here and learn at this time and to help in this way or that way. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm there, and sometimes I'm just like, I don't think that's true, but I don't know.
Right. And
It does seem like there's an archonic influence right now. Like, I heard the last podcast from Gordon White was on Aeon Byte, and it was fantastic because it was talking about modern fantasy lore, Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff, but from from an imaginal spot, and the archonic sort of influence. And it's hard not to make, maybe that is what I'm thinking is that when I look at what's happening today, maybe it feels like it's archonic because nobody's coming to help. There's nobody. Like, we just got to kind of get through this on our own, it seems.
I do think that's a little bit, like, true for some areas of the world where they've lost their touch with the higher side, right? And when we lose that connection, which is happening on societal, like, levels, like huge societies are losing their connections to spirituality and themselves, and I think at that point, like, they kind of lose control, and then it becomes archonic or archaic, and these entities do definitely appear, we when we see things like the Travis Scott concert and like the weirdness with that, how they show the entities in the videos, like the dark figures that are hovering above the crowd, a little bit weird, right? And then we hear about like these rappers over and over making deals, and they're with the devil, and they're showing it in the videos, and it goes back to what like Hitler was doing. Hitler in his what that he was speculated to have been doing meth and doing ritualistic chants in order to summon entities and get powerful technology through the real. And it's not really any different than now, and I don't think it's been any different since back in the day either. These archons are very highly present, but I also do see some light. I think that somehow, through the energy forces of Earth and the sun, and maybe some light beings, that we do see some peaceful places out there, like some free living places that you can go and grow on your own property, and not have any trouble in different countries, not here in America.
Yeah, I
But
definitely, I know what you mean. I try not to get bogged down in the sort of archonic sort of influence or narrative. I try to, because there are a lot of people waking up. There's a lot of people that believe in more than themselves, like believe in some sort of spiritual thing. I mean, we know there's a reality beyond this physical reality. So a lot of people are waking up to that. And I do think we're coming back around, but I guess it's just disappointing that how the masses just went along, and there's a lack of sort of accountability or acknowledgement right now. That's sort of hard to, I kind of have to continually sort of bring myself into a state of fascination and gratitude instead of just disappointment in humanity, and realize like, holy fuck, we are living through the best time ever in a lot of ways. I mean, this is unbelievable. The technology, the control, the attempt at domination of the world, like they've never been able to do this before, right? And now they're trying, and we get to watch it happen. So
yeah, I just
it's
seen this levitation bike, this that's coming out. There's levitation car that's going to be coming out. Yeah, the technology is literally like right there. We're at that, they're at the Jetsons. We're at the space age.
and maybe they can't, and maybe they have to clamp down now and do this, because we're gonna combine this spiritual, we're gonna figure out this spiritual tech thing is all one, and we're gonna figure it out ourselves really soon if they don't clamp down. And if we get access to energy on our own, they're done, because we'll just have freedom. If we can interact with ourselves and we have free energy, we're set,
I have seen over the
as
last 10
humanity.
years more and more videos about free energy and how to make it through hydrogen, through copper, through all these different ways. And yeah, there's a huge push for our own sovereignty. And well, I think in some essence we did hear about, let's just say, these from the Gnostic sense, that these angels and demons make contracts. Well, what if like the contracts are ending, or
Yeah.
and uh and in the Buddhist sense, if we look at the Chinese calendar, the Buddhist calendar, what they're in the year like 5,000, year 6,000 or something like that, right? And so they're actually, they kept the records right. So what, it's been a couple thousand years since our last huge worldwide cataclysm, so like when we look at the floods, it's like, and we look at the way humanity's in this very torn state of darkness and light. And I think it's all in Revelations. We're going through a little bit of the end times ish, not like at the end times yet, or maybe, who knows. But I think that this is getting biblical, really biblical. I just seen a couple articles about how there was remnants of the Nephilim found, like, I don't know, within the last couple decades, right? And then also another article, the matching with it, from National Geographic, about how our scientists and politicians, or whoever, our elite, were looking for the DNA of the bloodline of Adam and the bloodline of Moses and all the bloodlines of Noah. And then I put that comparing to what's already being shown about cloning, these Russia, they're cloning ancient Scythian warriors, I think they're also trying to clone a mammoth. Japanese, they're trying to clone a mammoth. China, they're cloning things. We're trying to clone these ancient bloodlines, ancient entities, ancient dinosaur. And you know, I wonder, like, when we look at the Greeks, right, and them getting really bad with that some of those stories about like minotaurs and and centaurs and the human hybridization with animals and stuff. I wonder if, like, we're due, like, if this is the same thing over and over and over again, right? We're hitting this technological advancement that maybe some of the things like the Bosnian pyramid hit on, through its light and sound technology. That's from a couple thousand years ago. So we're just retouching on it, rehashing on it. I wonder, you know, if it's like when we evolve at some point, there's these energetic thresholds that not everybody can evolve with us. Like let's say within 50 years, our IQ jumps, right? And so reality is going to start pushing out who doesn't fit,
Oh,
right?
that's interesting. Interesting.
Because
Because some people will be stuck in a just in a tunnel of just whatever you're fed kind of thing. They won't be able to look outside of that. And the people that'll
they're
be able to look outside of that and absorb as much information as they can without sort of, without not cracking necessarily, but without uh, detrimental effect. Who knows where we'll be, right? I mean, already look at it, right?
right. I mean, they always say it's survival of the fittest. I know that's not always the case, but there is this thing that, the weakest link always gets drowned out, eventually and over throughout history, whether it's, that they can't like defend themselves. We know we have seen species of animals die out because they can't defend themselves. I can't pull up the exact animals, but we know that it exists because they just had no defense mechanism. So they just like constantly got ate by the president until they were extinct, right? Um, so I mean, same thing with humans in some essence. I really think that think that's the case. I wonder though if like the super soldier program that DARPA and the world have been doing over the last couple of years through France, through China, through the United States, that they're trying to do with the military, is to like combat these entities that may be like coming into gear, like these let's just
I
say
don't
these
know.
these 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 that we're seeing right there. So let's just say these are ending the contracts that have been over here for thousands of years, hundreds of years, and they're like, hey, it's time's up, we're gonna come down, uh you know ready or not, here we come. So these what we're seeing over the last couple of years, last decade, with the whole government and trying to, because there is, besides the push to destroy humanity, we do see a huge push to evolve humanity, right there. We know that, like, from the top, they're still feeding us technology and information, though it's very hard to get, but it's very hard to believe sometimes, but it's still there. Like, I just had a George Wiseman on. He had that OcuCure. I mean, that's a very, very powerful technology. I'm not saying he's like from the secret side. No, no, no. What I'm saying though is that, like, that's some of the elite stuff that's dripping down now, right? And so we have this chance to evolve, but at the same time, they are destroying humanity through the mRNAs. But they are trying to evolve us. I really do think that there's some factions out there that are trying to evolve us and prepare us for the next step. You know, we hear about it all the time, either through the meditations or either through the super soldier programs. I mean, I don't know what you think about like Corey Good and David Wilcock.
Yeah, I don't know. We've kind of avoided that, to be honest with you. Like,
Look. So
when
there was some information about how him getting his stuff from meditations, but I still think about how. Sorry, I was trying to reach for something. I still think about how meditations are actually not what we think it always is. See, when we hear about some of the ancient cults and their practice of meditation, they could meditate in the pyramids and transcend to a different location. Like they could warp to a different location through whatever through, and they could put their spirit in different places. The Chinese know about this. We know about this, astral projection a little bit, like remote viewing a little bit, right? So I mean, I don't really doubt what Corey Good and David Wilcock are saying. Like, I mean, I don't know
I
whether
don't
to believe
doubt
it
what they're saying.
100%.
I know I don't doubt them necessarily technically, but it just doesn't. I don't know, man. Lately, there's just been so many rabbit holes to go down. I really try and stay sort of like ambiguous about most of them, and not try and stick with. I mean, I have my sort of pet theories, and those are the rabbit holes on their own. But I really try and stay away from that. So it sounds like you think that maybe it's like an Ender's Game scenario where there's some people trying to prepare us for some sort of war with something. And you think that's from like, have you ever heard of Collins Elite, the Collins Elite book from Nick Redfern? Like, there's some elite people in the government that think that UFOs are demons.
Well,
And like, do you think that there's something to that, or?
I don't think that. So when I think about UFOs and entities, I think they could be either at this point. Like, when I think that there's multiple factions, and that like there are multiple entities within those factions. Let's just say there's like hypothetical reptilians, draconians, and Alpha Centaurians on one side, and then the other side we got like Palladians, Syrians, Avians, and stuff, and a few others. What is it? Lyran's a very famous one where the Sphinx is supposed.
What about those lion?
Yeah, the Lyran. Yeah, the Lyrans are the lion
yeah.
ones, which is kind of where people think the Sphinx was originated from a little bit. And hypothetically, that's just right. So I think that there's multiple entities constantly, and so at some locations maybe they might have like they just might have free reign. I think they're still in allegiance and contact. Like if the world wanted, if there were some entities out there that are trying to destroy the world, I think they would have already done it. I kind of think that like there is these contracts up there in the sky that's controlling humanity, and having this progressive evolution. And sometimes it's not according to plan because not everybody plays fair. Not everybody wants to like, dip their toes in their own farm. Some assholes ranchers are like, nah, fuck that. I want to go farm on your land.
It is. I mean, Earth is the place to be right now. I mean, if you were in another civilization and you saw a planet evolving to the point where they're about to leave the planet on a mass scale or destroy themselves, I mean, this is the tourist time to be watching Earth, right? I mean, you'd be like, holy shit, man, look at what's happening on, Earth season 4. We're towards the end of this, and we're going to see whether they make it or not. I mean, we're here. We're at this point, right?
Right. And what's interesting is that like these entities, they're probably already here through our own like lineages. So I actually just recently found out how there's more than like 4 blood types. There's actually like 20 blood types or more. And so I was like starting to put it together, like, what if over time certain entities, just had the rights to genetically modify each race and send them out here to this country and make a brand new country, like, they're doing with Kazakhstan or whatever some of these weird places, they're just creating locations. And I think, we already see it. Like we hear about certain races being just different and, just so spiritually advanced, like within their cultures, comparing to, let's just say, a different culture, right? I'm not putting names, but we do see that there's like distinct uniquenesses with this, and it goes beyond just being human. No, like we gotta like incorporate the ancient the entity aspect. I know Bruce Fenton, he's very very good with exogenesis. He talks about the entity influence, right?
I was just thinking about his Substack when you're talking about the asteroid belt. His latest Substack was great. It was talking about evidence on one of these moons or one of these. I can't remember if it's an asteroid or a moon, but yeah, very interesting stuff. And also about his book, him and his wife's book about the explosion of the spacecraft on Earth about 800,000 years ago. That was a time that kind of matches with many different things. There's the tektites that crashed on multiple spots of the Earth that match like a crystal sort of spaceship war or crash above. There's human evolution changes around that time as well. So do you think we're under that we've always been in the inner Earth kind of thing? Like, what's your thought about how that plays into this whole lineage aspect of us being from sort of outer space, but also inner Earth?
Yeah, I do think that there's some inner earth beings. Maybe that's where we see some of these cults follow more vampiric, dark night patterns. They're, a little bit more lust for this light, non sun radiated skin. They just want to stay in their places. Yeah, I do think that some of the inner world aspect is very true. There is a whole bunch of information that we can speculate, like if Hollywood wants to disclose it in the new King Kong movie, they flip down into the inner earth. That matches probably with what some of the theosophical societies would call Agartha. You know, that I definitely do believe that there's some truth to it. I mean, referencing back to the early 1900s Los Angeles study about the city of reptilians underneath LA. I mean, it's already there. I just think that within the last 100 years, we did see this quieting, this suppression. I think 100 years ago they kind of already knew more. I think some people knew more than us, about history. Not let's say technology and science, but about history. Definitely.
I think a lot of people knew more than us back then. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like we see it from the farming. Some people knew how to farm like without these pesticides. They knew how to freaking naturally farm. You ask some people how to naturally farm these days. Like, what do you mean? You got to use all these fertilizers, blah blah blah, these poisons and stuff. You know, I'm in the cannabis industry and I see it. I mean, I'm not in the cannabis industry, but I'm right here in the cannabis
You
state and
follow it.
smoke.
Yeah.
I smoke cannabis, but I'm also like right by a dispensary, so I can walk there right now and see some pesticides in this and see some destruction. And back then it wasn't like that. Cannabis was huge and they know how to grow that naturally. They were a little bit smarter with everything. I mean, not like I said, not with science technology, of course, but how to be human, right?
Yeah.
Because there's this big inhumaneness right now in society. Yeah, it's pretty pretty much a strong polarity. There's a huge divide on who we used to be and what we are now. Hey, so what's up? You said you got a book, you can go ahead and talk about.
No, I mean, Darren wrote a couple books. I mean, I might as well give Darren a shout out. His books, one of them is called A Canadian Shame, and it's about the residential schools. Let me just pull up his book here. Maybe I can give it just a quick little blurb here. And then we've been narrating a lot of books, so we've got a lot of audio books out there. So all kinds of like theosophy, spiritualism, some authors like H.G. Wells, Gerald Massey, Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, The History of the Supernatural, Manly P. Hall's Secret Teachings of All Ages, Blavatsky, like all of Isis Unveiled, all of the Secret Doctrines, all of Fort's books, Behavior of Crowds. I mean, it's just been great. I've been grateful to have been able to read all these books and get them out on audio. And Darren's book specifically is a disturbing collection of information that forces every listener to meditate on the atrocities of government and institutions. So find out all about the Indian Act. So that's this is all Canadian. Residential schools, Indigenous child welfare, unmarked graves, and more in a comprehensive, extremely well-sourced overview of the last 150 years of Canada and the Indian Act. So it kind of goes through like the timeline of the Indian Act and all the changes to it, because now they're making it very hard for us to find the actual Indian Act. And it shows that, they were really trying to take the Indian out of the kid back then when they made these residential schools, and they forced some people to go to these schools. And they would cut their hair, not allow them to practice their spirituality, basically call them a number, take the spirituality out of the Indian, basically make them conform to this, superior species, like true sort of, eugenic racism kind of stuff, right? That people just sort of glance over, never mind about taking their land and all that other stuff. So, and then his next book that's not out on audio yet, but it's written. It's called In Their Own Words. So that's the stories of people during the residential school thing. So I think you can get that. I think you can find that on CanadianShame.ca. That one's on Audible, and the other one, In Their Own Words, is also available in a hard copy and PDF, or sorry, ebook as well. So yeah, it's pretty hard. It's a hard read, not in a like difficulty way, but in an emotional way, right? I mean, there's a lot of virtue signaling around this right now. So I kind of was expecting to see maybe a different aspect of this going into the research. Like years ago, I thought, well, maybe it's not quite what they say, but it's worse than I would have ever imagined, really. And it kind of goes back to the British Empire, colonialism, and how what I'm realizing now is how bad the Enlightenment actually was. It was really just a darkening, not an enlightenment, It's kind of ushering us into this technological society based on materialism and scientism, and not just an overall spirituality.
That definitely goes hand in hand with what I've been talking about. How there's just been this dehumanization. There's constantly they want to dehumanize us. I mean, there's some societies, like I said, there's some places out there that you remain your humanity. You stay
retain
true to
it.
nature.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some Babylonic countries. I think we fall under a Babylonic country, and I think Canada too. See, when I hear Canada, I broke it down into two words, and if you break Canada down into two words, Ada, you kind of reference it to Canaanite royalty, because Ada means royalty, right? The Khan would like be a reference to Canaanites, and when we understand exactly who Canada is, it's definitely the remnants of the royals, and the Europeaners. It's under their rule, right? You guys are under their rule.
Yeah, I mean, sort of, not really, but sort of. I mean, they still have influence, right? The crown land, they still own a lot of this stuff, but it's kind of, we're supposed to have our own charter of rights and constitution, and not constitution, but it's supposed to be independent. But I just don't. I mean, it's just a big farce right now. The whole government thing. I was just shedding a tear, literally crying a little bit, listening to the convoy hearings before the show today, because Tamara was talking about Tamara Litch, one of the people that got arrested for just peacefully assembling. It's just hard to believe what's actually allowed to go on right now. The media can just lie. The media can just make up a false headline, and the government can just take that and run with it. And the media can do their little retraction or not on page 16 and just ignore the whole thing. I mean, we're just living in such a fascinating time right now.
Yeah, there's definitely some weirdness going on with what the social programs are able to do, like through Facebook and Twitter, like how are they able to cancel culture people, and then it's like it can get legal with it. I've seen people arrested for what they've said online. It's like, what? Like, I mean, not even like threatening stuff, just
just hate speech, just hateful.
Yeah, it's weird how some of this can go,
and yet the censors can be hateful. It's so weird, but it's just how they define hate today. It's just all based on this subjective definition that they've made up on the fly here. It's unbelievable what's being allowed. They can be hateful, and they can actually talk about violence. They can be violent and we can't ask for peace. That's what it's coming down to. It really is. I mean, it's not being. I'm not being like inflammatory or hyperbolic when I say that. That's what's happening.
Yeah, I think that we're in for a time of change, whether it be through like the energy like evolving, and we're just seeing like a clash of energy, between every human. Like everybody wants to think that they're smarter, faster, stronger, as we go through with phones, and we're like, oh, we know better, oh, we're better than I don't necessarily think like that, but we look at the rest of society, and they for sure, I'm not the rest, but we see most of society, they definitely think like that. And it goes into politics, and it goes in as well, like they don't have the right to even think. That's where the wrong
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
people get in trouble for wrong thinking. But it's I think it's to some point, some of that could be related to how I'm a very big component on natural and organic substances. How I've been actually uncovering on some of my videos. I just do some newscasting, right? I just cover some news articles half the time, and I do interview people like this. But in the news, I've been seeing how a lot of these chemicals through GMOs and stuff that's found in our fast foods, and stuff that's found in those really mainstream, big time, big wig, cheap ingredient companies, how they're now causing like massive DNA damage. It's like Alzheimer's. They're causing like psychological issues, right? It's causing physiological issues beyond comprehension. So I'm wondering, like, when we look at the elite, I wonder what the f they eat, because I don't think that with their decisions and what they're talking about and what they're thinking, I don't think that they go home and eat natural or alkaline and organic stuff. I'm pretty sure they pick up Starbucks, one for the day and one for the night, just to keep them right. And I'm sure it's been like that, right? I don't think that even their family bloodlines have been, supplementing or taking the proper nutritional aspects, because if we look at like Bill Gates, I wonder, he's a huge component on GMO foods. Does he probably eat GMO foods then? And if that's the case, then it's definitely showing in their actions, and, through their freaking just insanity, what's happening on a political level, because, it's come to the point where these dudes aren't even making sense. I don't know if Joe Biden's real or Joe Biden's a robot at this point. His words just don't make sense. Some of the politicians just don't make sense. Like they literally have this like brain to body disconnect. I mean, I look at Boston and DARPA, and like I know that they're fucking way ahead in robotics. They can create a clone, an avatar. They can have someone talking to you right now that you would think they're human, right? And so like, but then I look at the politicians as a whole, and it's like, nah, these dudes have bad genes. A lot of them have really bad genes, and you can tell like their mind, because you hear about a lot of them. They're very they're addicted to pills and shit. Like a lot of them are addicted to pills and pharmaceuticals. Like that's no joke. I'm pretty sure a lot of them suffer from like multi-personality disorders, probably through the through the demonism that their family has occultically summoned too. That might just be one aspect, right?
Well, imagine having to be completely fake too, and completely just a totally different person. You have to keep your lives separate. I mean, you have to maintain, one face for the public and another face for this and another face for that. I mean, just that alone even is pretty destructive. But I agree with you 100%, and that makes me think that they're not really that much smarter. They're just growing up in this kind of elite privileged environment where they're able to sort of navigate what they got to do, and that's about all they can do is just navigate what they have to do to keep control or to maintain the narrative. But I feel like lately I've been thinking, man, I think they harvest geniuses pretty good to sort of run things. I mean, they have to be sort of, how they monitor the schools, and I'm sure they pick up the smart people to really. I'm thinking this now. This is just like weird thoughts that I'm having, but some of those slip through and they help us out. Obviously, the real smart people, but they can't do it themselves. They must have these real smart geniuses to help them through everything, doing the technical stuff, kind of running the background, and they're just the mouthpieces for, the global narrative.
Okay. Now, have you looked into how ancient history talks about automatons and golems?
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I've done a little bit of articles, and I still have another presentation to cover on it too later on in time. So yeah, there's this huge thing in the history about how the elites would try to summon golems and try to make mechanical artificial entities, and they're about at that point, to have those helpers behind them. I think when you hear about things like this is a effed up reference, but when you hear about things like Q, some people saying that it's an AI, and there's a pre-generated like AI type of thing. I'm not saying that's 100% real, but like that's in comparison to what might actually be happening, right? Like, let's just say there is this AI though that is making asshats in politics, right? And it's only been now that they've been able to actually accomplish it, where they've been trying to accomplish it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. I'm sure that they've been trying to do this for thousands of years, and if their family is handing over the paperwork over and 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 again, then they're just like, trying to actually accomplish it. And I think, yeah, I really don't think that they're fully responsible. I mean, when we hear about like I freaking bang this nail. I hammer this nail constantly. And when we hear about Beyonce being in touch with Sasha Fierce and this fucking entity coming into her and making her like a superstar, like I don't think that's any different than what like Hitler was trying to do, or some of these politicians are actually doing in their own time. You know, like legit. So it might be like a little bit of arcanish, but it could also be how it could be interlinked, where they have someone or something or a couple things in their own back rooms and caves that have their own voices and entities. Have you heard about how Mr. Lemoyne, the Google engineer, how he's thinking like, man, this freaking AI robot that the Google engineer created, within the last year. So it almost seems like it has its own consciousness, right?
Well, yeah, I was just going to mention that I think part of it is if you build something with the right interface or with the right matter or maybe energy, it'll obtain consciousness, or it'll create a home for sentience. So like the internet, maybe the internet has become that now. It's become a brain that can actually absorb sentience or some kind of consciousness.
I believe that was one of the first projects with the internet. It was to try to create this interlinked information network that's symbiotic with humans.
Yeah.
And when I look at what happened 200,000 years ago with the VMAT2 gene in our own DNA strand, how scientists and historians are able to locate this and say that, well, the VMAT2 gene is what is kind of correlating with our belief in God or spirituality. It's like, well, how do we know that this isn't just some like highly technologically advanced creation within inside of us that these creators kind of altered, in some beings, and like we humans are also this like android like ish. I'm not saying we are, but like through if the pineal gland was the one that was giving us this super high intelligence, then it kind of seems like a cute computer encoding, which is what like Billy Carson also talks about, and other ET contactees talk about, like, oh, it feels like I received a download. And it's like, well, speculative in the simulation, also simulation theory, right, where we're like, we are the simulation, we are like this
Yeah, maybe
higher
we're
dimensional,
golems. Maybe we are technically, maybe we are golems, right?
Kind of this
androidish. Or
androidish
spirit comes into this vessel.
Yes. Well, like it says it from the Bible, right? We're made from dirt, clay, right?
Yeah.
That's what golems are made out of. Half the time in these ancient scripts, they're like, yeah, we want to make a golem from clay. Dirt and clay, that's the same thing. and also like how to even try to speculate that we're not even seeing our full existence, so that a golem wouldn't see its full existence. Like if we made an AI program, like, you know, that's why it's so speculative to like really give them full autonomy with everything. Like we can't give them the full everything. You know, our eyes don't even see the full color spectrum, right? So we are being limited. We are probably this, like, from the creator standpoint, we are just this like little golem, spirit inside, you know, a body. Because I know our spirit is definitely, you know, outside of our body. Like, I mean, not outside, but it's bigger than our body. Whatever consciousness is and whatever our spirit is attached to, like, it's bigger than what our physical body is. And
Yeah.
I think that, you know, what's happening with the politicians and us, like, we are understanding it. They understand that we understand it, but they're also using their forces mixed with other entities to, you know, get answers. Because man, these politicians. Anyways, we could have this conversation for days. Graham, do you want to go ahead and share with my viewers where they can find you, and then we could
Yeah,
have
man.
this
Yeah,
conversation,
for
and
sure.
again,
Yeah,
man, we'll have
yeah, we'll
another
do.
conversation.
Let's do it again for sure. You can find all our audiobooks at adultbrain.ca, and they link to Audible. You can find our podcast on Grimerica.ca. Everything's from Grimerica.ca, actually. That's where our events are, which will lead you to Contact at the Cabin. That's our website. And then Grimerica Outlawed is our more controversial podcast, and that's grimericaoutlawed.ca. But it can all be found from grimerica.ca. So, yeah.
Sweet. And when's the next Contact at the Cabin? Next year, of course, right? Yeah, you guys already have something planned?
Yeah, man. Oh, so we have Magic on the Mountain in Shasta with Greg Carwood from the Higher Side Chats, and let me just check here on the website. Brandon Powell, Joe Roop, Owen Hunt, Greg Carwood, February 9th to the 13th, 2023 in Redding, California. We're doing a trip to Shasta, and we'll do like little sort of like lectures and stuff about trans surfing, reality, ancient hermetic wisdom, and Wim Hof breath work, and all kinds of stuff like that. And then we got Contact at the Canyons, which is on 420. That's in between Zion and Bryce Canyon. We do like Smiths of the Stars at night at those places. And that's in Duck Creek Village, Utah. So that's on 420 as well. And then there's Scablands with Randall, Montana with Randall. Yeah, all kinds of shit. We're gonna do an eclipse festival near the Brothers of the Serpent in Texas. That'll be in the Path of Totality, so that'll be fun.
And when's that?
Yeah, 2024, I think spring 2024.
All right.
We haven't posted that one yet, but that's coming up. So,
hey, that sounds awesome. Honestly,
yeah.
I mean, I would love to go to those. Those things sound pretty cool. I know that being out there with those guys and those voices, and learning about these topics is an evolutionary thing that I think that humanity needs. And you know, I know some people that are interested, like, in these things. I might try to get them out there.
Yeah, man, the conversations and the people are amazing. Like that's the best part of it. Is just, you know, van rides like with a bunch of people just chatting about all kinds of crazy stuff. It's awesome.
Now, are you guys also kind of exploring some areas too, or?
Yeah. Well, Randall's leading us through those tours. I mean, those are different, I guess, because Randall's kind of leading it, and there's a bunch of great people there too. But some of the other ones, yeah, I mean, we'll do a little bit of exploring on Shasta and Zion and Bryce, and it's just filled with cool people, you know.
I mean, I've heard about Shasta having entities and UFOs and crafts and visitations, voices, you know, everything paranormal.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah,
That looks awesome, man. Sounds exciting. Hey, man, I appreciate your time. Hope you enjoyed 509 Divine Pines podcast. And honestly, blessings and love out there in Canada, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Stay strong and hey, rock on.
Thanks. Take care, buddy. See ya.
Peace out.
Thanks.
Hey, man. I want you guys to go ahead and just tell your friends, tell your family about this. These are conversations you need for your soul. This is like the air that you should breathe, the knowledge. This will help you glow. This will help you flow. Honestly, man, everything about this, what we're doing throughout this whole community, I'm just a little ice in the iceberg. I'm just a little ice cube in the iceberg, but you know, this is powerful stuff. The information, the events, how we can retain our own sovereignty, be in touch with our power, how we are the power, how we need to remain our humanity, and doing the things that we can do to get in touch with that humanity, and the history along with it, man. I want you guys to go ahead and visit my sponsors. TweedleFarms.com. Use coupon code 509 Divine Pines for 20% off your order for everything CBD, hemp, vapes, flowers. They got all the right flavors, man. They get the seeds from around the country in specific locations. They do their breeding themselves, and look at, man, it's nice. I mean, they got flowers from other places too, but everything is good. It's all organic. It's all natural. You'll love it. If you have a job and you don't want to fail the drug test, use this. Also, go visit eagle-research.com and use coupon code 509 Divine Pines for 20% off your order for OcuCure, the world's most powerful hydrogen healing system. I said, hey, man, this will heal you. This has healed many, many things. And look, I'm not a medical professional, but if you're not listening, fuck you. Look, dude, I'm honestly on top of my game. Look, and these are the things that help humanity. Really, really, look, go check this out. This is technology that's not suppressed. I'm trying to help you guys out, man. These things have reversed some aging. It's stopped people from going to the doctors. I mean, like, it's healed them completely where they don't have to go to the doctors anymore. Go ahead and check it out. And he also has some Tesla technology coming out pretty soon. So that's some pretty fascinating stuff too. You guys can go ahead and use that coupon code on. Awesome. Go ahead, use coupon code 519 Divine Pines 10 off over at boomerboost.com for premium supplements, vitamins, lignans, probiotics, collagen. They got all the right things that you need, all organic and all natural. It's been with me for about 2 years and I love it, man. I literally feel the power. I feel the energy. I feel a complete revitalization when I use it. Literally, they have a barley blend that is super powerful, an ancient gladiator barley seed that they've been able to find and cultivate and reproduce. And barley, it's been mentioned in the Bible. It's been mentioned by gladiators. It's been mentioned by Vedics. It's been mentioned everywhere as a powerful superfood. Ancient, very light. This is a great one. Now, go ahead, check them out. You'll love it. Thank me later, man. Hey, you guys have a wonderful day. Peace out. Blessings.
Meditating, analyzing everything I see, so I see new horizons. Took the acid, feeling blasted in my brain, so I've been sitting up inside it, thinking about the present and the future. I'm improving cause I am a trooper, never getting caught up in the loop. Got up out it cause I found the truth. Woke up to a beauty of the day, the sun is shining, so I'm finna stay sitting, soaking up all of the rays, till I feel it surging through my brain like some burger sugar. Did a lot of cane, experimented with it, couldn't name all the times I did it, feeling like a fade. Yeah, I'm really, really glad that I let it go, cause I gotta be prepped for the time when the plane ride is a new norm. So I know I'm gonna stay high, blaze on the ganja, feeling like I make my music go to another level while I take off. I can't ever stop this, fell in love with it, fit like a glove, so I'm never ever done with it. So now I'm about to rip another beat, ayy. One day I'll make $1 million in a week, yeah, shooting for the top spot. Feel like I'm a hot shot, like I really got a chance with it. I will not flop, somebody gonna make a dance when I pop off. Gonna have all the bitches taking all the tops off. I've been feeling like I'm really gonna kill it for the rest of my life, so I've been staying focused. In my soul, I've been feeling like $1 million, so I know that everything is really getting closer. Yeah, no posers, only been hanging with the ones I've chosen. Only all the people that are living in the right way, cause they spending every day growing. Yeah, no whole shit coming in my life and then leaving in a moment. That's the shit I'll never let into my life again, cause lately I've been feeling like I'm golden. Never showboat, I just showcase on my music that I made this far. Always knew that I could be the one that would get this far. Now I'm right here looking in my mirror, trying to figure out if there's any more fear, cause I'm getting rid of it all, yeah. Yeah, I'm getting rid of it all. Meditating, analyzing everything I see, so I see new horizons. Took the acid, feeling blasted in my brain, so I've been sitting up inside it, thinking about the present and the future. I'm improving cause I am a trooper, never getting caught.